When you're living with attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyper disorder, procrastination happens. But what happens when you're trying to super focus and get something done, but it seems that everybody else involved, well, they're procrastinating and not focusing? What do you do to actually create action and to move forward when everybody else is putting on the brakes? Hey there friends, Berges here today, and today I want to talk about the situation when you're dealing with ADD or ADHD, right? And you've actually started focusing on something and really want to get it done. It's on your radar, you're super focused, but it seems that everybody else is dropping the ball. And what happens here when we're in that situation is it can be overwhelming. We can feel dejected by the other people. We can also take it personally. And a lot of times we turn inward and we get into a state of inaction. So how do we deal with this? How do we stay focused? And how do we actually get things done when other people around us, well, they seem to be where we were a couple of days ago? The first discovery that I want to talk about in today's video is that when we're finally on point and you're finally ready to take action and you're super focused, when the other person that's involved in the situation doesn't step up to the plate, doesn't respond on the email, doesn't take your call, doesn't respond on the text, doesn't follow through, I don't want you to see this as personal defeat. The reason that we see this as personal defeat is because we're working so hard to focus. And when you're dealing with ADD and you're dealing with ADHD, it can be super hard to focus. So you're working overtime to really get going, to make the conditions right, to follow through so that when someone else is dropping the ball, it feels overwhelming, okay? It almost feels like it's personal, right? And so when we feel personal about it, we feel like somebody's doing this to us personally, like they're actually not responding back, right? Which is normally not the truth at all. It's just the fact that they're not focused on that, or that there's been a long period of time, right? And now we're finally focused, but now this person's dropping the ball. And so I want you to think about that. I don't want you to ruminate on the situation. I don't want you to get upset and turn inward and question yourself on this. I want you instead to actually flip the script and change this program. Usually others are calling you. Usually others are emailing you or getting you or trying to get you to respond. I want you to be in charge of the communication at this point, because usually people are chasing after you, right, to get you to follow through or to do something. This time around, instead of going inward, instead of saying, F it, I guess it's not worth it following through, I want you to be the one that opens the lines of communication. Emailing, texting, calling, not rudely, but just getting people to jump back on board and get this done, right? Sometimes we have to take that extra effort to make that happen. And it also begins to change the way we see ourselves, right? Don't you feel that a lot of times, more than not, that other people are asking you, hey, when are we going to get this done? Or what's the deadline or that? Or can we get this going? And it seems like you're scrambling to get things done. Well, this time you'll be the one that other people see are on point, right? So when you don't get that call back or you don't get that text back or somebody doesn't get that information in that you need in time, hound them in a positive way. Be the one that hounds them in a positive way. This is also going to help us to not turn inward and see this as a personal defeat. And it's easy to see it that way too, because it's hard to overcome procrastination. And when you do it, you feel so good about yourself, you just want to get things done, right? So let's change the script. Let's begin to be the one that organizes people and start focusing on that. Just go to the next part of what needs to be solved, right? Let's solve that situation, and then eventually you'll be the one that puts the entire thing together. People will look to you as being the organized one. The second thing that I want to talk about is because there's a tendency of procrastinating on most things. There's a tendency to rush forward to get things done because, well, things are already a little behind schedule. But I want us to really analyze this, okay? Because in this situation, if you're on point and you're focused and you're ready to have action, you're ready to get things done, and other people are procrastinating, and you've already opened up the lines of communication, and you've already sent the emails, you've already called, you've done all your due diligence, and they're still not responding, it might be time to take a deeper look into the situation at hand, okay? Taking a deeper look means analyzing the situation, really analyzing it, understanding the situation. Is this situation or this project or whatever this is this good for me? Do I really need to follow through? Because sometimes when people hesitate, it can give you the time to do the due diligence you need to understand if this is something that you necessarily want to be involved in. I think there's a tendency when you have ADD and ADHD to hurry up because you're constantly behind schedule, constantly procrastinating, right? Because that's just part of it. And so you feel as though you're kind of under fire all the time, and maybe there's not always enough time to really think the situation through. And so if other people are procrastinating and you've done all the work to open the lines of communication, this might actually leave you some time to do some background due diligence to make sure this is something that you want to do and make sure this is actually something good for you. The second concept that I want to bring some light to is that if people are procrastinating and you've reached out and you've gone that extra mile and you've opened the line of communication and you've reached out, email, texting, calling, doing everything you need to do, going that next step, breaking that program cycle that we have with ADD, like trying to ruminate and all that stuff, and we've broken that, but we still don't seem to get the communication that we need to finalize whatever this is, you might want to take a step back and start analyzing the situation, okay? Because if somebody else is procrastinating, this gives you time to make sure that you're on point. It also gives you time to understand if this is something that you want to actually follow through with. There's a tendency when we procrastinate, and it seems that other people are constantly calling and asking for us to get things done. It seems like we're constantly running late, constantly procrastinating, that there can be a tendency to not read through everything, analyze the entire situation, and kind of run through it because we feel like we're behind the eight ball, right? And so this might actually give you time to analyze the situation in its full form. Do you want to be involved with these people? Is this project or whatever you're working on, is this at your highest good? Does this feel right to you? Because this gives you time to step back and really analyze things and maybe think about some stuff that you haven't thought about in the rush to get things done. And the third thing that I want to bring up in today's video is that if you've done all the due diligence, right, and you're totally on point, but other people are still dropping the ball, I want you to use that energy and that direction and that focus somewhere else. I want you to refocus your energy on projects and work that you can solely do on your own so that we can begin to try to change the program from going within, getting angry and upset about the other situation, losing traction, and not actually getting things done. Okay, so what happens here a lot of times is we really super laser focus, right, on whatever project that is. We get that tunnel vision, right, on that one thing. We're unable to get it done. We're unable to get it to fruition, and we get upset about it. Okay, we get upset about it. We start ruminating on it. Or we kind of get into a state of inactivity because we're waiting on that one thing, but we're still waiting on all those other people. So at this point, I want us to break that cycle pattern. And it's going to take some time and effort, but I want you to pivot. I want you to pivot immediately into something that you actually have control over on your own, that you don't need anyone else's participation to get done. And the reason for that is, one, when we have that passion and purpose and that direction, we don't want to lose that momentum, right? We want to use it for good, and we want to use it as quickly as possible. The second thing is that when we seem to have had other people drop the ball, well, we get a little upset and we start losing traction. So we need to do something immediately to make us feel good about what we're doing, a sense of fulfillment and a sense of accomplishment. So I want you to start focusing on something that you can control, something you can control at that moment, whatever that is, whatever you can write, whatever project that you can finish, the things that you can finish at work that only takes you to do, start working on that and get that done. It'll feel very good that you've actually accomplished something, because what happens here is that when we work so hard to focus and then somebody else drops the ball, we still feel bad about the situation because we worked so hard to get there, right? So let's take it a step further and find something that only you can control and get that done. It might be hard to put that other project on the shelf and to shelf it for a moment. It will come to fruition if it's supposed to. But I want you to really take all the energy you can and find something that you can do, just you. Focus on that and get that done. If you've ever painted an entire room before a different color, like repainted an entire room, you know how amazing that feels when you do something and accomplish something where you accomplished it all on your own and you can see the differences and the changes in it? I want you to focus on something that you can do just like that, whether it's work or physical work or mental work, that you can do, that you can see the final product and feel good about it. And the last thing that I want to bring up today is that if you find yourself around a lot of people that tend to procrastinate, you might want to think twice about constantly working with these people. It's hard enough to deal with ADD and ADHD on a daily basis, and it takes a lot of work, direction, focus to really focus and get things done, right? And so it's a lot easier when we're around other people who are action-oriented because it helps us to be more action-oriented, right? When we find ourselves around other people who are constantly procrastinating, it can keep us in a state of flux. And so I'm just asking, maybe it's the time to think about some of the people that you're working with and slowly pivot into people that seem more action-oriented. Because, you know, there's a tendency of us being like the people that we spend a lot of time with, right? So if we're wanting to be more action-oriented, we probably want to spend time with people who are more focused on action and accomplishing things and being aware of that. And I think it's powerful because anytime that we're dealing with this, we want to surround ourselves with people that we can learn from and grow from, right? And ADD and ADHD is actually a sign of high intelligence, right? But we have to be able to harness that energy, harness that intelligence, and actually create things so we don't get upset with ourselves, get upset with the situation, get overwhelmed, and stop action. I hope this video has helped you, and in the comment section below, let me know of some ways that you can refocus your energy when things don't seem to be going your way with other people and they seem to drop the ball. What are some things that you do? What are some techniques that you use to refocus, to really focus on something that you can control? I'm interested because anybody with ADD and ADHD knows that it's hard to focus, but once you do get focused, you can move mountains. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. And by the way, we have new membership opportunities here. And right here on the channel, you can see there's a join button. Just click that and you can learn all about the membership opportunities right here. I hope that you'll consider that as well. And don't forget to live your true life.